What's up guys, you're watching Life by TCG. Just thought I'd give you another quick update on my Pauper exploits. So last weekend in Auckland there was the Cancer Society Games Fair. So that was an event hosted for the Cancer Society charity on Auckland's waterfront. It's a pretty cool event, lots of different games and things going on there. So on the Sunday there was a sealed tournament, RCQ, where I qualified for the next upcoming Australia-New Zealand RC, which will be modern format in Melbourne in the end of October. So, yeah, got to start practicing modern for that. So that was Tarkir sealed. So my only tips for that format is try and open Elspeth. That is a good tip that will help you to win a lot. But I'm sure all you guys, what you're more interested in is the Pauper, which was the tournament on Saturday. So I won this tournament. The first prize was a dual land. It was just a plateau from Revised. But pretty cool prize, pretty cool tournament. So I talked to a guy there at the event, at the Pauper event on the Saturday, who's giving me some feedback on my YouTube. He's must be my biggest fan. He's the only person who's ever come up to me in real life and said that he watches these videos. So thanks for that. But yeah, his tip was, have a script, try not to ramble too much. So let's try and keep this video nice and short. I think this deck list here is the exact same list that I posted in the previous video when they just unmanned the Prism. It's only like a couple of cards off. So I added a second flicker, and initially the plan was when I wanted to add the second flicker was to cut the third Mnemonic Wall for it, because it just felt like one of the most cuttable cards. But when you're maximizing on flickers, having lots of Mnemonic Walls is also good, right? And having 3 Mnemonic Walls in general is just nice. It's one of the stronger cards in the mid to late game. So what I ended up doing instead was for the second flicker, I cut a copy of Lórien Revealed from 3 down to 2. I just found in my testing that I was hitting my land drops consistently enough, even almost flooding out in some spots. So Lórien Revealed just felt like one of the most safe cards to cut. You could maybe cut like the Remote Isle if you don't like that as much and put the Lórien Revealed back up to 3, something like that. But overall, the rest of the list I was really happy with. I think with the second flicker in the deck as well, like you're a little bit less concerned about exposing your cards to graveyard hate. So this Rainbow Land should probably be one of the ones that surveils either the Conduit Pylons or there's some other grotto with the exact same effect. I forget the name. But yeah, that arguably should have been done in the first place anyway. Just play with the Surveil Rainbow Land instead of the Scry one. But yeah, apart from that one change, the one Ghostly Flicker over the third Lórien Revealed, this is the exact same deck that I speculated was good when they unbanned the Prism. And in the sideboard, I think it's also almost the exact same sideboard that I proposed in that video. It's just off by 1 card. I think in the video that I previously had, I had a Dispel instead of this Negate. So yeah, it's pretty close. I just thought in a bit of an unknown metagame, I'd rather have the more generic answer. So I played a Negate instead of a Dispel. But I think the rest of the sideboard is the same as what I proposed in that video. Cast Down was good. Grudge was fine. Breath Weapon good. Exclude was really good. I think you do need to play either Exclude, or if you think that's a bit too greedy, then you can play like Remove Soul or Essence Scatter instead. Just one of the 2 mana ones that doesn't draw a card. But I do think this effect, countering any creature spell, is pretty important. Right, especially if you're not playing any effect in the main deck that does that, except for the Memory Lapse, right? So pretty key. The one card in the sideboard that I felt was a bit of a letdown. Well, Weather the Storm kind of was, but that's just because I didn't really play against the matchups where it would have been good. So I need to get some more reps in versus the red deck of this format to see whether this is necessary or not. But the main card I'm thinking of in the sideboard that was a bit disappointing was the Gorilla Shaman. So I played versus Affinity, and I just don't really think that this card does anything that great anymore. Like, if they have a hand that lines up really badly against it and you have this really early, it can sort of just free roll the game by itself, which is nice to have. But often when you draw it mid to late game, like most of their lands are indestructible. They're like popping their blood fountains and stuff as soon as they draw them. Like it just doesn't really do that much. Um, so it just seems like a relatively ineffectual use of a sideboard slot. What what I was thinking you could maybe play instead of this is this new card, Heritage Reclamation. So again, it does the same coverage destroying artifacts if you really need to pop something. But versus Boggles, for example, it also destroys enchantments. It's slightly more flexible. The Exile Graveyard mode can come in handy, like in the Mirror or versus the Spy decks, for example. Um, and we even considered playing a long time ago, like Return to Nature, which is basically this exact same card, except the third mode didn't say draw a card on it. Um, so this is just like a strict upgrade of a card that was like almost playable anyway. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Maybe you can play Heritage Reclamation instead of the Gorilla Shaman. Um, but of course, there's tons of other flexible sideboard options. When you're a 5-color deck like this, there's tons of different things you can play, like Circle of Protection blue if you're afraid of ninjas, or you can play maybe another Breath Weapon if you want more removal. Or you could add the Dispel back into the deck somewhere. That's totally fine as well. You could have more fogs if that's what you're afraid of. Like you could play Stonehorn Dignitary or more copies of Moment's Peace, right? These are all options as well. But overall, I think something close to this is pretty good. I don't think I'd want to change it up too much. Maybe just cut Gorilla Shaman for either Heritage Reclamation or Dispel. Or another card that's actually pretty decent, seems decent, is Envelop. 1 mana counter target sorcery. So not only is it good versus Ponza, like Thermocast and all the Acid Moss and things you want to counter like that. It's pretty good versus Madness, right? It counters all of their draw discard effects like Faithless Looting and stuff. Yeah, that's just a pretty nice card that covers a lot of options versus different things. So that could be an option as well. But yeah, pretty happy with this. So the matchups, beat Affinity, beat Boggles, drew somehow versus this like mono green aggro deck. I beat blue black Snacker Fury thing. So we only had 16 people, so it was exactly 4 rounds. Then in the top 4, I beat mono black Carrion Feeder, some sort of like sacrifice aggro deck, and then I beat 6 land Spy in the finals. So pretty wide spread of decks there. I think the format's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm super happy playing this deck. It's so good having both Prism and Refractor in it. I've seen people trimming on copies of these, trimming on copies of Map. Right? I don't think that's correct at all. I think you want all 12 of these artifacts. It just makes everything so smooth and consistent. So there's going to be another local event, just the normal monthly one coming up next week. Definitely going to be bringing this again. So let's see if I can win another dual land at that one. But for today, this is going to be Li-Fi TCG signing out.